Hi everyone, it's Andy from Hobby Headquarters, and today we're going to start working on the Tamiya 1/35 scale Panzer 4J. This is a little bit older kit. It's been out for a little over 20 years right now. It's an excellent kit. I've built it many times in the past. It's an easy kit to put together, something that you won't struggle with at all, and if you really want to test out your painting skills, you'll have a nice base to start out with on this. But before we do start building this, I want to talk to you guys about a few things. First of all, last week, July 20th, was our 1-year anniversary on YouTube. Way surpassed any type of expectations I've ever had for this channel. I started this channel out for my local customers who would come in and ask me, hey, how do you do this, how do you do that? And because running a store, I couldn't always set up my airbrush to show everybody, I decided to put some videos together on YouTube. Is an easy base to start out with, and just show people, hey, this is how you do this. And the channel just exploded from there. I mean, we're getting close to, I think, 14,000 subscribers right now in just a year. And that's all because of you guys. I appreciate it, and especially with the comments. Just so you know, I do read everybody's comments that comes onto my channel, and it's usually about 150 a day now. So although I do try to answer as many as I can, mainly when I put out a new video too, because that's actually on the computer at that time. I do see everybody's comments. Unfortunately, because I run the store 6 days a week, have a wife and children and a little bit of a life outside of the store, I can't always have time to do it, but I do try my hardest to answer as many questions, especially if they're technical questions about how to build something. Let's get started on the build. While we start building the model here, I want to talk to you real quick about the music that I use. This has gone on now for the last year. People talk about, some people love the classical, some people are not so crazy about it. My last video on the armored locomotive, a few of you in the very beginning when the video first came out noticed that it was almost immediately taken down. And that was because I went to an outside website that said that they had royalty-free, copyright-free music that you can use for the video. And actually, even the music I used was 200-year-old Mozart music, but it immediately was flagged for copyright, and the sound was removed, and the video was removed even in some countries just because of that. So that is why we're back to kind of the similar music over and over again. I get this music actually off of YouTube, and because it's off of YouTube, it's copyright-free, and YouTube's bots don't pick it up and say that there's anything wrong with it. So that way we can concentrate more on building and doing models rather than spending time just for the music portion of the video. Now you see me gluing up the muffler on this. Now there's quite a big seam down the middle of it. We're not going to attach this right now. We're going to completely sand that seam out, get it nice and looking really well, and then we're going to do some weathering effects with rust and stuff separately. So we're not going to attach it right now in the video. Okay, I've finished up the turret and put the last little pieces on. One little building tip I'll give you is the instructions kind of give the impression that you're supposed to attach these braces to the turret first and then attach the side skirt on it. And I started doing that, and actually I was filming it for you guys as well, and my hand kept getting in the way because I was having a little bit of difficulty doing it. I finally took the braces off and applied them directly to the side skirt itself, and night and day difference. They went right into place. You glue them on here, let them dry for a little bit, not completely, so you have a little bit of give and flex with them, and then they'll attach fine on there. I did have a little bit of an edge right here that I'm in the process of sanding, that I'll sand down a little bit more before we do our next paint job. I also left off all the tools and all the other accessories as of right now, because we are going to start painting the NATO black real soon, and we'll put all the tools and accessories on separate afterward. So I'm going to finish up the little bit of sanding right here and do a little more detail sanding over the entire vehicle, and we're going to put our NATO black on. Okay, I've gone ahead and done the final bit of sanding. One other thing I'll point out too is I did not glue the top onto the bottom yet, and that'll be easier for us to put our tracks on and things, and then we can glue the top on. So now we're going to take our NATO black XF69 and we're going to paint the entire vehicle to give it a shadow coat. Okay, we've gone ahead and sprayed the NATO black over most of the entire model there. Now we're going to go over with a little bit of flat white on some of the highlight areas that we want to pop a little bit more. The little black and white technique. The other reason too that I might point out too that we do the black, at least I put the black coat on as well, is that it'll show off little flaws. There was a little flaw in the barrel that's not as noticeable until we put the black coat on, then it's much easier to see. So I've sanded that all out. So now we're going to just do a little bit of white just on some of the highlight areas to make some tonal differences on the final paint job we do. Okay, we've got the white the highlight coat on there, and you may have saw that I had a little bit of a problem. The white was spitting just a tiny bit, which happens every once in a while with the white paint, but not to worry on that. It's not going to change very much anything that's going to happen. So now we're going to use the XF60 dark yellow and paint the entire vehicle. Okay, now we're going to work on the tracks while the other part's dry. You might remember we have our kind of like a rusty brown color that we use as our base coat for our tracks, and that's a mixture of 40% NATO black, 50% NATO brown, and 10% red. And we're going to go ahead and we're also going to spray our muffler down too as a base coat too. So we're just going to give this kind of a light coat. We're not going to go super heavy on it because we're going to go over it a little bit more later as well. Okay, now we're going to start doing our camouflage with the XF69, the NATO green first. Now to finish off our camouflage, we're going to use XF68, sorry about the paint over here, but NATO brown. Okay, now we're going to start doing our rust, and we're going to use our European dust as a fixer for our rust coat that we're going to put on top of the muffler right here. So what we're first going to do is we're going to brush a little bit of this on. And first we're going to try out with the burnt sienna. And what's going to happen too is as this dries, it gets kind of a dry chalky effect to it, as if it's layers of the rust coming off. And we'll put a little kind of swirl of some of the different colors into it too. Get a mixture of the two. So when it does dry, we won't have a uniform color. That part's not going to be seen, so I'm just kind of brushing a little bit more on that. So we're going to let that dry for a little while, and I'll come back and show you what it looks like. Okay, we've let this dry and we've glued it into place here, and you can start to see the rusty chalky effect. We'll put a little bit more of a wash on it in a little while. What I've done in the meantime though is I've taken this outside and I've sprayed it down with a can of Tester's Dull Coat. I was just out of the Tamiya right now. Either one of them will work fine. And now I've done is I've mixed up a little batch of black and brown. And we're going to do a little chipping effect on the model, and we're just going to go lightly across the top on any areas that may have had some guys beating it up and stuff dragged across it. So we want to get as small amount as small tip brush as you can, and then just start lightly And how much you chip it is totally up to you, because it's your model, and if you want it really, really beat up, that's fine. That's up to you on there. So I'm gonna kind of like going over some of the edges here, especially with some of the grab handles. Paint would be missing on it around that edge. So I'm going to go over the model and start working on that, and I'll show you the next step. Now, using a same color and a wider brush, we're going to do a little light dry brushing on some of the areas that we want a little bit more wear on. That wouldn't necessarily look like little chips. They're going to look more like it's actually wearing off the paint. So I'm going to go ahead and start finishing off that. Okay, we're going to put the tracks on now, and with a couple little drops of super glue up around the return rollers and a little bit on the idler and the front drive sprocket, we're going to put some old paintbrushes and some pencil or something like that in there to give it a little bit of sag. Let the super glue set up for about 5-10 minutes and then pull that out, and then we can start weathering the track. Okay, we're going to start doing our weathering and dusting on the tracks. We're going to use a little bit of the Vallejo Desert Dust. I put it in a little container right here. And start going over just lightly on the bottom down here, getting it all into all the tracks. And then using our light sienna, making a mixture of the two, you can start to pack it up inside here. And also, don't forget, this is going to dry a little bit different than the way it looks. Not so wet. So we'll do all the fronts of the track. And we'll let that dry and come back and show you what it looks like. Okay, now we're going to fill in the wells in there with a little mud and grass from Vallejo. This is a little bit thicker product, so we're going to kind of blot it on. Not too bad. I don't want a lot of mud on this particular build, but we want to make it look dirty up in there. You'll start to see some of the grass particles show up, and you just kind of pound it around in there. You can put a touch on the wheels here and there. The other thing I'm going to do while that is setting up, I'm using a little bit of our light sienna again and kind of dusting it in there to give it a dry effect across the top, as if there's any wet mud that it's going to be drying up on the top layers first. And I'll keep working on that for a bit. And we also don't want to forget to put the decals on as well. Now we'll put all the decals on, and then we'll put several coats of microscale on it, microsol, excuse me, and that'll soften them up to get them to wrap around all the little rivets and things like that on it. So pretty straightforward with the decaling, so I won't show you any more of that. So I'm going to go ahead, let those dry, do a couple coats of microsol, and then seal them one more time with the dull coat to make sure they don't pop off. Okay, we've gone ahead and put all the tools on and weathered those up. Decals have all been sealed in with another coat of dull coat. Just kind of give you a quick little once over on it. Now the last little thing we're going to do is just on the top is we're going to mist a little bit of XF57 buff really far, maybe about 12 inches to 16 inches away from the thing. I'm just going to lightly and it'll soften everything down. It'll knock the decals down a little so they're not so bright. So let's go ahead and do that now. Okay, I've gone ahead and finished up the dust coat and can kind of give you a 360-degree view of the entire model. One other little thing I might point out to you, I put the tools on late, but once you put this little bar for the side armor on, it makes it kind of difficult sometimes to get some of the pieces in there. Just going forward, remember that, but it is a lot easier to paint when they're separate as well. So there's a little 360 on that. And now we're going to do a little comparison side by side with the Dragon kit. Okay, last thing I want to do for you guys is give you a side-by-side comparison of the two models. This, of course, is the Panzer IV we just built from Tamiya. This is Dragon's Panzer IV that has the Zimmerit coating on it. So it has the Zimmerit molded into all of the horizontal surfaces on it. Plus it also has it all over the side skirt as well, up on the top ring. As you can see, both kits look really good when they're built up. Tamiya has far less parts when you're starting off. This kit is closer to about 500. This kit's probably about 200 parts once everything is said and done. Both of them do have rubber band track. This is the DS track, although Tamiya now has a track that glues together with regular modeling cement too, similar to what the DS does. You do get side skirts in this kit. You don't in this one. You get the rails for it, but not the actual side skirts. But if you really wanted to, you can buy aftermarket for them, or you can even actually make them yourself out of some sheet styrene. Construction-wise, this is not very difficult put together, just a lot more parts. Like I said, it is closer to 500 parts, so you are going to be working on it a little bit longer. The Tamiya, they have a tendency to engineer it in such a way that you're not building so many little parts all the time. Another contributing factor to these two kits is price. Tamiya's kit retails for about $48 in the United States, and Dragon's kit, unfortunately, they've been raising their prices recently, and that kit now retails for almost $90 in the United States. Now, there again, these are retails. You can find them much, much cheaper. In fact, I normally sell this kit for about $40, and this one goes for about $65, I believe it is. But still, it's a considerable price increase on it. But both of them will build up real well. Both of them do not have the metal barrel on it. I built this one. Normally, I'll sometimes put metal barrels on either kit, but because at the time I wanted to build this one straight out of the box, and this one straight out of the box as well, and both of them did not have the metal barrel. But it looks good. And once you sand the seam down, you have no problem at all. So hopefully that'll help you out in your decision going forward on building a Panzer IV. I want to thank you as always for watching our videos, and please stay tuned because we have more coming.